Those who look at economies think it's working. We're out of recession. We reversed it within 5 quarters, which is a relatively short recession. We've seen recessions last 3-4 years. So we came out of recession very quickly and minimized the damage to the economy. And that's providing the building blocks for faster positive growth. And our focus is on a stronger trajectory. All of our main sectors are growing. Agriculture actually represents 26.2% of our GDP. So you can see that just the focus on agriculture, and it's interesting, the 3 focus areas of this conference, agriculture, industry and technology, are absolutely in line with the structure of our GDP. 26% of our GDP is agriculture, but it's mainly subsistence agriculture. It's hoe and cutlass. We haven't mechanized. We haven't optimized agriculture. So what would happen if we continue this trajectory of investment, of focus in agriculture? You can see that just in agriculture, a 10% improvement would represent 2% of GDP. Just 10% improvement in agriculture. And those who are farmers will tell you that to improve output by 10% in agriculture is not hard to do, from the base, the very low base that we're coming from. So there is a lot of upside, there's a lot of potential. One of the things, and I was speaking about this yesterday, that we're doing, for example, in Plateau State. Plateau State produces the greatest number of potatoes in West Africa. The potatoes we call Irish potatoes are actually plateau potatoes. But they have 45% post-harvest losses, which means 45% of what they grow never gets to the market, it rots in the field. What happens if we change that metric to 20% post-harvest losses? What does that mean for food inflation? What does that mean for incomes and livelihoods? But all that is driven by infrastructure. One of the biggest problems they have in that state is the roads. To get the goods out from the farm to the fork, quote unquote, costs far too much. So our focus on infrastructure, our focus on rail, our focus on roads, our focus on power, our focus on airports is absolutely critical. And I can give you one example like that in every single state of the country, including Ogun State. I happen to come from the best local government in Ogun State. Upwards aside. And we're a fantastic aquatic fishery-based community. But a majority of our fish rots because we have no power and because the roads, to take the produce from road to market, is so very difficult and so expensive. What would happen if we were able to, and thank you, Excellency, we're now getting our roads done, upwards aside. So now that we're getting our roads done, we can bring our produce to market much more quickly. We'll stop importing fish. We'll stop smoking fish where we lose a lot of the value and be able to sell it fresh or even export it. Every single local government in Ogun State has those kind of stories. Every single of the 774 local governments of this country has those type of opportunities, latent, hidden, unexploited. This is the first time you have a government that is putting policy and programs to solve the problems at a very, very granular level. And it's working. Manufacturing is only 9%, so that focus on industry is critical because to value add our primary endowments, we need manufacturing, we need power. We're working very hard right now on the power sector reform program. There are IPPs springing up everywhere. It's really going to begin to happen in a very, very big way. And it's a bit like building a house. You put the foundations and it looks as if nothing is happening. Then all of a sudden you wake up, as I did. I drove past the Legacy Badon today and I wondered whether some of those buildings were put there overnight because I was here 2 weeks ago and suddenly they're roofed. That's exactly how it's going to be with the economy. And we're really building the foundation blocks. And let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the leadership role of His Excellency, the Vice President, who heads the economic management team and uses legal argument and preaching and prayer and all means to drag the economic management team together, even at times when there is dysfunction, to align everybody together and get it moving. And it is working. It really is working. Now, the biggest opportunity, and it's so interesting that the third pillar is technology, is services. 53.4% of our GDP. That's where the real growth is going to come from. That's where the opportunity lies. We've got young, we've got educated people, the infrastructure is coming in place, and that's where the game-changing opportunities are for our people. What was Uber 4 years ago? You don't know, I mean, if you think about what the market capitalization of Uber is now, it will really upset you. Because they're taking, what, 20% of every single taxi ride. They don't own a single car, not one vehicle. Think about Uber Eats, food, all those technology platforms, and we have young, bright people in Nigeria working, able to compete on a global stage. Technology has leveled the playing field, and Nigeria is in a perfect position to take example because we've got young, educated people, we've got all the endowments that are needed, and we can really, really drive growth and drive jobs through services. So the focus on technology is absolutely important. From a fiscal perspective, I think Paga here somewhere, I'm not too happy with them because there's so much business happening in the cloud and I can't tax it, but I'm working out how to catch up with them because they're moving so quickly. They're taking huge amounts of business into the cloud where we can't see it. We wouldn't mind them coming a bit closer down to earth so that I can have some visibility of how much they're really making. But the truth is that's where commerce is going. That's where e-commerce is going. That's where a lot of business is moving to. And it's a huge opportunity for Nigeria because it means we don't have to build the big bricks and mortar infrastructure. We can do clicks and mortar infrastructure and we can leapfrog. And we can see it time and time again. If you think about the typical supermarket was supply driven. They fill the supermarket with goods and then you choose. Now it's all demand driven. What do you want to buy? And they show you on your phone and you click or you swipe and you've done a transaction there on your chair. So there's huge opportunity for us as a country in the area of services. And so let me congratulate His Excellency on the excellent choice of focus areas for this conference. We in the government are increasing fiscal space for infrastructure spending. I will continue to talk about infrastructure spending because it's the most critical ingredient for growth. Here in Ogun State, a lot has been spent on infrastructure. There's still so much more to do. Congratulations for what's been done. There's so much more to do. We're working at government level now to crowd in the private sector. A very important reform, and we hope that the President will shortly sign the executive order that allows private sector companies or groups of to get together and do a road, and in exchange we give them tax relief. What does that do? One, it brings investment in. But more importantly, it brings a benchmark for price which we've never had before. Right now, a road costs what government tells you a road costs. When the private sector come in and begin to drive down costs, you set a new benchmark. You improve value for money and you improve accountability. So that's important fiscal space that we're opening up. And of course, we're working on greater cost efficiencies, blocking revenue leakages. So Paga will be coming after you for your share of taxes and continuing our support to the states. One of the things that we did as an economic management team, again, guided by His Excellency, when we came into office, 26 states could not pay salary. And we thought that was an unacceptable situation for a government that said it was going to spend its way out of trouble. If we had just done our roads and our rail and our power, yes, it would have worked. But if 26 states, primary school teachers are not being paid, health workers are not being paid, we would not have achieved the exit from recession that we achieved. And therefore, we had to support the states. But we made that support conditional. And on a monthly basis, when we have the National Economic Council, there are often complaints from the governors that finance has held their money, and we say, yes, you haven't complied. But we have seen major improvements in state outturns, just as that discipline. Publish your accounts, publish your budget. Let's see what you're doing with the money. Improve your accountability. Set up an efficiency unit. So the same reforms that we're driving at the federal level were being replicated down to the state level. And again, I think Rashid will speak a little bit more about the P4R program, which the World Bank is now bringing in to support states, built on the fiscal sustainability plan of the federal government. Next slide, please. And I'm going to quickly close. Oh, next slide says thank you. So, I think someone's taken one of my slides. But as I close, let me say that the outlook for Nigeria is extremely positive. Not because I say so, but because all the data says so. Because everything is aligned. We have gone through the worst economic adjustment that this country really has seen in living memory. And we're still standing. And we're standing better and stronger because we've understood that we can't rely on oil. We've understood that we need to diversify our economy, and we have begun the process of building the blocks that allow that diversified economy to be a reality. Now, what does that mean for Ogun State? Well, it means huge opportunity because, of course, Ogun State has that unique combination, really, of endowments. Natural endowments, the endowments of people, location, proximity, and you've added infrastructure. All we need now to do is to take off. In other words, my message to the investors really here today is it's time to really get on with it, because if we wait for too long, the opportunities will be gone. If you look at the outcomes, the foreign direct investment has started to come back in. 2 years ago, every single investor or group of investors that wanted to see me as minister were calling to complain or to ask, what exactly are you people doing? Now they're calling to say, this is what we're trying to do, how can you support us? And whether it's tomato factories, whether it's potato processing, whether it's power, across the range of sectors in Nigeria, there's activity happening. So the outlook is extremely positive. And I think what we need to do, though, is to keep on with the reforms, not to get excited. And I want to use this, as I close, opportunity to plead with everybody to kindly stop looking at that oil price. I wish they wouldn't publish it daily, because it really has nothing to do with any of us. Let's focus on the non-oil economy, which we do control, and keep growing in the direction we need to. And then we have the potential to be at 7% growth a year, which is our target under the ERGP, within 2 to 3 years. And that will really see a transformed Nigerian economy that finally begins to deliver on the promise that for many, many years we've all talked about. Thank you very much for listening.